Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I'd like to speak to you a little bit about HZO. I know Doug characterizes us as a legacy portfolio company, but to a certain degree we're a part of Biology Plus. We're unique in that we work on silicon-based organisms, electronics, so I like to think that we're a part of the new thrust and focus of Harris & Harris. Blake, you correct me if I do anything wrong here, okay? Electronics industry today, really fueled by micronization, mobility, and ubiquity, these devices truly need an inoculative solution. And I believe the single biggest trend in the electronics market today is the inoculation of these devices. And not just against water, but against salt water, sweat, other liquids, corrosives, acids, dust, debris. Certainly. Sorry, I know technology, I just don't do technology. So really a holistic inoculation solution, no different from a vaccination. We have to transition from being afraid to expose these devices to the environment to making them truly seamless with the environment. And that's really the code that HZO has cracked. And today we're adopted by among the biggest blue chip companies in the world, Deutsche Telekom, Nike, Motorola, Dell, and actually some more profound companies that I'm under death and damnation clauses not to disclose. What I'd like to do is just give you a brief, just a little video on HZO so that maybe do a little bit of a better introduction than I could up here.
Now here is the hazardous weather outlook for the western two-thirds of Utah and southwest Wyoming. Rain and snow likely. Significant snowfall is possible in the mountains. Snow levels will likely fall to the valley floor by Saturday.
HZO Protection is an amazing technology. We're able to protect everything from tiny sensors to life-saving medical devices to huge digital LED displays. From raindrops and sweat to full submersion in hazardous chemicals to the world's most corrosive environments.
Traditionally, protection for electronics has been provided by mechanical seals and gaskets. The problem with mechanical seals is over time they're going to deteriorate. If there's any portion of this that's not properly sealed or it's damaged, the protection's compromised and the elements are going to get in and cause failure.
More recently, new technologies like plasma have captured consumer attention. The problem is the application process is inconsistent, and voids in coverage create a weak defense against anything more than a brief splash. These simply aren't a reliable waterproof solution.
HZO has been able to develop the best water protection and corrosion prevention solutions for electronics because of the experience of our technical team. As a result, we can protect a wide range of devices and do it in a way that is cost efficient and easily integrated into mass manufacturing. It's an exciting time because the world-leading companies are choosing HZO to protect their electronic products.
HZO created a material that is microns thin, environmentally safe, optically clear, and applied during the manufacturing process with pinhole-free consistency. Form, function, component sensitivity are irrelevant. HZO is capable of understanding the intricacies of any device or component and providing a turnkey solution. Our solution can protect any device imaginable. It could be a field tablet, a fitness tracking wearable, an industrial sensor, anything. We've protected over 150 different unique and complex electronics.
HZO has facilities in strategic manufacturing locations around the world. We have close to 200 patent filings on everything from processes to materials to equipment. This solution is at the forefront of protective technology, capable of going beyond defined testing standards. We have protected products across multiple industries that have survived hundreds of hours of continuous water submersion.
We're pushing the boundaries of possibility that address and solve the unique requirements our customers face. From product engineering and design to application process and support, HZO helps manufacturers and brands make better products. Products that offer the possibility to change the way people interact with electronics. Products that are durable, integrated, resistant to elements, waterproof. Electronics that let people live life without interruption. To sum it up in one word, freedom. Freedom of design, freedom of movement, freedom of use. Protection from the inside out. This is your HZO protected world.
So just to validate that this wasn't clever audio visuals, I've got my Finding Nemo on my cell phone, so I'll just place it here for the remainder of the talk. If the screen does go black, I promise it's not dead. That's just the screensaver. So, a couple of highlights for HZO. The market is huge today. It's $12 billion, and trying to protect electronics has been around for 4 decades. It's just that the solutions have been inadequate, and there's been sort of a triage collection of solutions. Thank you, helping my manual dexterity there. And trying to address this market has been trying to boil the ocean. And so we really spent 2014 and 2015 honing in on the key verticals, the verticals we felt we could grow and monetize as rapidly as possible. And these 4 were consumer electronics, outdoor LED devices, transportation, and IoT devices. IoT devices are machine-to-machine, sensors, smart meters, things like that. We've also now started to migrate into aerospace, military, and telecom infrastructure. But focus has really been the key to our success, growth, and as I mentioned, path to monetization. Some highlights. The company is only about 4 years old. We already have an patent asset portfolio of over 180. Everywhere we go is white space. We get to plant our flag and claim the territory. We have over 60 active projects and about 100 employees spread over sites in Draper, Utah, Silicon Valley, California, Shenzhen, China, and Lugano, Switzerland. We have millions and millions of devices protected out in the industry, and in the last couple of years, field failure rate has been 0. So that's a testament to the efficacy of the solution. We're backed by a very nice and profound collection of strategics, VCs, and private equity, and we have validated over 600 devices, distinct devices, and subcomponents, and other electronic components. So definitely at a later stage of maturation. From a competitive landscape standpoint, as I mentioned, there's been a triage of disparate solutions. Spray coatings, never wet stuff you spray. You spray on decks and things like that, and seals and gums and acrylates and traditional conformal coatings. But the industry, the demand for protection is vectoring away from these solutions. And today, the only solution that's really capable of addressing where the market is going is HZO solution. What is key? It's not just the technology, the ability of the technology to address the solution. I think the more important part is to scale with the demand. A lot of these electronic devices, you need to have the ability to drop into contract manufacturers and protect hundreds of thousands to millions of devices a day. In the next month, HZO's one of our lines, fully automated lines, is starting at 22,000 units a day for one of the world's most valuable companies. So this is the type of the solution itself is not good enough. If you can't scale, it's irrelevant. I've got another video to augment my presentation. This is sort of a shock and awe video. This is really the ultimate proof why there is no solution like this in the world. This was a blogger took this video and posted it at CES 2015.
This TV is actually playing inside a tank of water. It's submerged in water and playing. So basically they have a technology that can seal electronics from water. That's pretty insane. Obviously, you could apply this to any technology, phones, radios. Look at
Running a
that.
video, they don't even know it's underwater. And then they see bubbles, they go, oh, wait a minute, this is underwater.
That is completely underwater.
Well, we thought about putting a big thing.
That is insane. Very cool.
So that's really a shock. Clearly, we're not going to be maybe not having TVs working underwater. I guess we could. But, this was a 40-inch LED TV streaming audio video for 4 days, 10 hours a day. It's actually in our conference room now and has been working underwater for 500 hours. So there's really nothing like it. I doubt any of us in the last 10, 20, 30 years have seen any devices that have been co-branded, protected by Kyocera, BASF. No brand has been willing to take that risk until HZO. What we have found right now is brands are actively co-branding with us. HZO protected, Deutsche Telekom, Moto, Elecom, Dell, and they're not really co-branding with us for any sort of commercial time, but they're co-branding with us because we are the we are the protection standard in the industry. It is noteworthy that Intel paid Dell several $100 million to pop Intel inside on their computers. We paid Dell $0. So when you have companies like this co-branding with us, I think that's the ultimate proof point of the solution. It's not just those companies I listed. We have a whole host, and as I mentioned, I almost look at us as the UL and TUV certification of the electronics industry. You see a bunch of TBAs out there. Unfortunately can't disclose those companies, but look out for that in the next couple of months. We'll be rolling out with some very exciting companies. Case study: Deutsche Telekom's e-readers. Their total cost to adopt our solution was about $3. That was their BOM cost adder. They were able to upsell this device for $30, 10x return, and in 6 months they displaced Amazon for #1 position in their demographic. That's a very, very profound economic result, and after that we had a whole host of their competitors beating down our door. So that's really how we penetrate the market. We get a reference account, we go dominate that account, and then we spread laterally within our defined verticals. Business model is very simple. Let me go to the analogy. We really have a best-of-breed nested business model. We're like Qualcomm. We're a very capitally efficient technology licensing company. We're like HP. Very relatively inexpensive for the contract manufacturers and OEMs to buy the equipment. We make our money on the ink cartridges. Unlike HP, we don't have ink in our cartridges. We have secret sauce like Coke. And we're kind of like Intel and Gore-Tex, that while we're a B2B business, we aim and drive for B2C brand ubiquity. As a result, we have 3 income streams. We have recurring revenue from royalty, we have recurring revenue from the secret sauce, the consumable, and we have one-time revenue from equipment sale. This results, it manifests in a business in the next 12 to 24 months that asymptotes at about 60 to 70% gross margins and 50 to 60% EBITDA margins. We lose about 10 points on SG&A. So a highly value-creating business. Typically businesses, technology licensing businesses like this that have strong IP and recurring revenues trade at 10 to 15x multiples of revenue. So creating a lot of value, clearly. We're currently undergoing triple-digit growth, and we have a pipeline of over $400 million and growing, qualified pipeline. As I mentioned before, what's key is the ability to scale. Let me give you just a 1.5-minute overview on what that looks like. As I mentioned, we have a line that's being deployed in the next couple of months to crank out 22,000 units a day for a large OEM. And as of today, we're capable of up to 100,000 plus units a day. 2018 will intersect the cell phone market, which requires a million plus units a day. Pipeline growth, as I mentioned, our qualified pipeline is growing at over a 260% CAGR, and that manifests in revenue growth. This year we expect to have about a 300% revenue growth, and that type of growth rate we expect to persist in the out years. So in conclusion, Blake, I think I'm 1 minute ahead of time. In a huge market opportunity. I think beyond a market opportunity, we're precipitating and participating in the single largest trend in the electronics market. Very unique solution with all these large companies. They're basically single source to HZO. So that sort of speaks to uniqueness. Turnkey and scalable, key requirement. Significant momentum with top global brands. We are engaged with 80% of Fortune 500 consumer electronic OEMs. We almost exclusively focus with 90% of our customers are industry leaders. Large patent portfolio, and as I mentioned, we're a high margin tech and licensing company. Some of these factors, including a lot of know-how and tribal knowledge, constitute to very, very significant barriers to entry. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Questions?
Just for freshwater verification or saltwater as well?
We recently did a military test. The question is the technology only applicable for freshwater, or is it applicable to other mediums? Essentially all mediums, saline water, sweat, corrosives, acids. We recently did a test with the military where we had an XI3 computer with cooling fan in a vat of pure chlorine streaming audio video. They need that for decon. When these devices come back from the field, they decontaminate them with chlorine. Other questions? Sorry. Well, the batch operation can do millions, and we have a continuous process that is launching with 2 blue chips in the first half of next year. And this continuous solution this current solution is an organic solution. The continuous solution is organometallic that has a film that is 10 times thinner with the same protective level. So there's a huge economic benefit to it as well. None of these solutions require a clean room, by the way. One of those machines that can crank out 1,000 units per hour is about half the size of one of these tables. Very, very footprint efficient. There's a question right there. I'll get.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit more about your IP protection?
Yes, we have several levels. Our IP protection is developed into our overall enforcement strategy. So we try as much as possible to have product patents, so we can always unwind any sort of competitive contravention. But what we typically try to do with our IP, we try to structure our contracts with brands, and then the brands typically have-made relationship with the CMs. We try not to have legal arrangements with the CMs because they take violation as a point of honor. So we typically have the brands acknowledge our IP because injunction is far cheaper and faster than assertion, and so that's really how we structure our IP and our legal enforcement thereof. Did that answer your question? I think not. Maybe there's another component to it.
Well, I just wondered how easy it is to work around it or go about the competitive landscape.
Certainly. So I've been in sort of the vacuum deposition and thin film space for about 3 decades. And that was one of the reasons I joined this company, was there is such a convergence of know-how and intellectual property. Each discrete item in itself would require some time to unwind and replicate, but trying to really decouple the parts from the whole is a profound endeavor. So I think there are 2 components to that. I think if a company was to try to replicate what we've done, I think we've got about a 4 to 5 year lead And I think it would require somewhere between 60 to 150 million dollars to try to replicate what we have done. And we're not standing still. As we mentioned, we're moving into continuous processes and organometallics. But I think there's another aspect to it. Working with the blue chips, they typically take about 18 months to qualify you, contact to contract. And they typically will spend anywhere from $4 to $15 million in going through all the torture testing and qualification. So beyond replicating the process, the barrier to competitive entry is huge. Once you're in, the motivation for these blue chips to save a couple of pennies and qualify somebody else is not very motivating. Question back there?
Yes. Is there a standard additional cost to the bill of materials? How much more expensive is it, with a cell phone or whatever standard metric you use?
So it's very disparate. I'll give you an example. If you take a Nike Fuel Band, maybe we earn on a wearable, maybe we earn 50. It's maybe a 50-cent BOM cost adder. For U.S. Army drones that we quote, it's a $3,000 BOM cost adder. So it really depends on the industry, but let's focus on consumer electronics on three form factors: a wearable, a phone, and an e-reader. Roughly, the BOM cost adder will be 70 cents, $1.50, $3.50. Oh gosh, I can't. I'll have to get that to you offline. I'll have to pull from my operations guru. Sorry about that. You just scratched the level of my ignorance.
Michael, what's the approximate private appraised value of HZO right now?
I would say we've just closed on some bridge financing in preparation for our Series 3. I would say the post money is probably about 140 to 150, maybe about 130. Post money is about 130. I'll make just give you another sort of an outside data point. In 2014, we got a soft inquiry through a bank for an acquisition on 1.4 million of trailing revenue. The discussion was around 225 mil. So those are a couple of data points. That was 2 years ago. No more operations questions. Right. Several reasons. SCS is a job shop. You take components, you take subcomponents, send it to them, they spray Parylene on it, and you send it back to them. SCS was a spin-off from Union Carbide. They've been around for 4 decades. Their business model has never been about understanding electronic devices, electronic organisms, understanding what to mask, what not to demask, how to process these things, understanding really the convergence of different materials, additives. We don't simply work with Parylene. We're now working with Parylene, with acrylates. We're working with metallics and ceramics. So there's a lot more to it than just coating. And job shops are notorious. They're not scalable. Typically, our CFO came from Honeywell, where he had about $5 billion worth of buy. Some of that was with job shop coaters. He said typically you'd have to ship it over there. There was inventory issues. Those things would come back with 30% yield loss. You'd have to rework it. Then you'd have to assemble it. So very, very scale unfriendly. Right now, for a couple of years, our machines have been operating with over 99% yield and 99% plus uptime. There's no comparison. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day. We just got to the shark part, my favorite part.